Hi, everybody. It's Tim Hughes here. I'm going to talk about how you can start selling in an account-based engagement environment. So how do you use account-based marketing, account-based selling, and what's the best way to actually sell if you're using those marketing techniques? So this is me. I'm the CEO of a company called DLA Ignite, and you can find me on my LinkedIn and my Twitter. I'm also the author of the best-selling book, Social Selling Techniques for Influence Buyers and Changemakers, which is available on Amazon worldwide. It's available in Audible. It's available in all different formats. The book is designed to be a workbook. It's not about my journey, or it's not about how to use LinkedIn. It's not a LinkedIn training book. It's not a book about personal brand. It's a book about social selling. So moving quickly on, we see a lot of organizations are in this situation right now where the pandemic hit us some 12 months ago, 18 months ago, really. We furloughed some staff, we've taken some staff on, we've defocused in certain areas and certain products. We may have focused in other areas, but we're still selling and marketing like we did back in 2019. We're still cold calling. We're still sending out emails. They're all techniques that have been around for now. For cold calling's been around 40 years. Email marketing has been around for 30 years. Advertising's been around for 100 years. And we're still using these techniques. But what we're finding is that the quality and the results are getting less and less and less and less. And certainly what we found in the last 18 months is that people have now transferred online. They've moved themselves from being probably going online and going there and using it as a destination to now the fact that they're actually online all the time. So what can we do? Well, we as an organization help people transform to being or using social strategically within the business. So one of our clients, Telstra Purple, they actually see using social media, not tactically, but strategically in the business as a platform for closing the distance between clients, prospects, remote employees, and potential recruits. And what you'll see if you use social strategically is that you'll start becoming the employer of choice within your marketplace. The ability to increase your pipeline and close deals will increase. And I'm going to show you some of the transformational changes that a lot of organizations are actually seeing right now by using social media from a strategic perspective. So, we do, one of the things that we do is that we help people transform in sales to use social. Generally, this is called social selling. Sometimes it's called digital selling, virtual selling, remote selling, modern selling. It's all the same thing, really, which is that we are sitting at our desks. And what we're doing is that we're reaching out to people, having conversations, and then having commercial interactions or sales. So the way that we see social selling is using your presence and behavior on social media to build influence, make connections, grow relationships and trust, which lead to conversations and commercial interaction. So it's about using social and social media in a way that it was built to be used, which is socially. So if you think about a networking event, what you do at a networking event is you go along, you meet people socially, and you have conversations. You don't walk in there and say, "Hey, buy my stuff and we've got 30% off." It doesn't work in a networking event, and it doesn't work on social network. And that's the mistake that a lot of people make, is that they take their old legacy methods of email and cold calling, bring it to a modern platform like social, and expect it to work, and it doesn't. Or they get very little results for it. So most people that we talk to will say, "But Tim, we're doing social already. We have Alice, she's in marketing. She posts something out every 2 weeks. And what happens is that we get an email and we're told to go and like it. We don't know why we have to like it, but we're told to do it, so we go and do it." This is tactical, and most people are doing this in some shape or form. And what you'll find is that these random acts of social actually is costing your business. It's not actually generating profit. All businesses today should be able to say, we generate X amount, 40% of our business through using social media. You should be able to measure it. It should be reported to the board, and the board should understand and be able to reiterate those figures. And we expect now most businesses to be creating at least 50% of their profit and their revenue from using social media. So let's have a look at the background. Let's look at some of the research. So there's now 55% of the world's population on social media. I don't know if you get this, but this is research created by Simon Kemp. If you don't follow him on LinkedIn, he's a great person to follow. This comes out every quarter, and you'll be able to keep up to date with it. It's sponsored by We Are Social and Hootsuite. But the criticality of this is that there are now more people on social media, active on social media, than not. And what you'll find is that certainly in the first world where you're probably selling, most of, if not all of your clients are actually on social. And while there may be one person that isn't, the rest of the buying team is. So you have to be there and you have to be using it. The second thing is that Gartner say that now people are 60% of the way through the buying process before they actually contact a salesperson. Now, I actually have research from SAP that says it's 70, 80% of the way through the buying process. Whatever it is, we all now know that if we want to buy stuff, we start using one of these and we go online and we start searching for stuff. So what we have to do as salespeople is insert ourselves down on my left-hand side early in the sales process. So we're building meaningful relationships with organizations that are going to come out and buy stuff. We're having conversations with those buyers. And we're doing that because when it actually comes out for them to actually buy, there's only one answer, which is you. And we do this on social media, and I'm going to talk about this in a moment. The other thing is that the size of the buying team has changed. So over time, the buying team, when I first started in sales, it was probably one person. It's gradually increased. Now that the average buying team is something like 6.8 or even 10 people. I'm currently transforming a supply chain software company, and they tell me for them, the buying team is something like 100 people. So how do we get around all of those people, not piss them off by sending them emails and irritate them by calling them up? How do we reach those people at scale, build relationships and trust at speed, and also make sure that when it comes to voting, they're all going to vote for us? And we do that through building relationships and having conversations on social media. So one of the things that's happened over the last 18 months, as I talked about, is that COVID has hit us. The ability to now have conferences and exhibitions, certainly I don't see any conferences and exhibitions happening in the UK in 2021, probably not even 2022. It's going to be a very brave organization that's going to put something together because, who wants to be a super spreader event? Nobody does. And the fact of the matter is that regardless of what we do, regardless of how we control and maybe get vaccine certificates or whatever, this is going to have an impact to us. So how do we get demand generation in the accounts that we want and make sure that we're building those relationships and then turning them into commercial interactions? So imagine you've got to go to the airport, and it's you're late and you've got to take one of two cars. Which you do? Take car one or take car two. Everyone's going to say car one. Most of everybody's going to say car one. It's a prototype and it doesn't have an engine. The thing is that we all jump to conclusions. We take a little bit of information and we extrapolate it out and we jump to the conclusion that we want. And what's happening right now is that people are jumping to conclusions based on your passive social presence and your active social behaviors. We all look people up. If you've seen a presentation from me, you're likely to come to my LinkedIn profile, and I welcome you to come along and have a look. But the fact of the matter is that we jump to conclusions. Is Tim Hughes interesting? Is he boring? If I have a meeting with him, will I better stay awake? All of those things that we will be able to those conclusions that we'll jump to based on seeing our social presence. So what are organizations doing now? What are the top organizations doing at the moment? Well, left-hand side of here, it doesn't say much about the person. Has no picture, has no name, it just has no banner, it says nothing at all. Whereas on the right-hand side, Catherine Cole here has a profile which is keyword optimized. Now, it's important to understand from a marketing perspective that Google loves LinkedIn. It's full of content. Therefore, a person's LinkedIn profile actually is seen by Google as a string of text. So what you're able to do is get another piece of keyword optimized text on the internet. If you have hundreds, thousands of employees, every person you get them to do this, you get another keyword optimized piece of text on the internet. And of course, what we're looking for is people are putting comments into Google and asking questions. We want us and our employees to be coming up as the natural answer to that. The other thing that you'll see about the profile is it's written in a story. It's not a CV. It's not a set of objectives, or it's a story from Catherine's first job. So once somebody lands on this profile, they're going to start reading it. They're going to be interested. It's Catherine's shop window. It's open 366 days a year, 24 hours a day. When people start reading this, they'll go, yeah, Catherine looks really interesting. They're not reading other people's profiles. And so what will happen is that they start understanding that Catherine is the answer to their problem. If we take Adrian is the CEO of Telstra Purple, and you can see that his LinkedIn profile is very different from other people's. And most people who read this, they go, Adrian looks like a really great guy. Do you know, I'd like to go for a beer with Adrian. And this is the transformation I was talking about at the beginning of the presentation. This is where you're in a situation where you have salespeople where we look at their profile and go, I don't believe you. I don't trust you. And in fact, I don't want to talk to you. You look like just another salesperson that's going to sell me some shit that I don't want. Whereas people look at Adrian and go, do you know, he looks like a really good guy. He might be able to help me. And they actually walk towards him. This is the transformation that we're seeing in organizations that take social strategically. This is the transformation that starts taking place. So there's a psychological condition that we have that's called Gestalt thinking. And what happens in the brain is that we take things that are very similar and we form them into patterns. So for example, on the screen, you can see that we've actually taken a number of blue circles and it forms in effect a square. Now, if you present yourself as something that's different, so in this case, a zebra, or if you're in the States, a zebra, what that does is it changes your win rate from 1 in 16 to 1 in 2. That can make a massive impact to you and your pipeline and the deals that you're actually closing. Because if you actually look on LinkedIn, everybody positions themselves as the same. For example, there are 8,552,815 sales directors. There are 9,724,042 marketing directors. Now, when I first went into sales, I asked the question of one of my mentors, what is it that I should do? And they said, you need to be different from everybody. It's the number one fundamental thing. You need to be differentiated. Here's 8 million sales directors and 9 million marketing directors who obviously don't understand that looking the same as everybody else means you are part of the sea of blandness that's out there. We need to be different. We need to differentiate ourselves. So how does a CEO do that? Well, he has a keyword optimized LinkedIn profile written from his first job. And what we do as part of our social selling and influence training course is that we help people actually put that together and write that. It's a different writing style than from what people are used to. We see this from a social perspective as the starting line. This is where you need to be and your teams need to be. There's an expectation now, because of the pandemic, because of the way that people have moved online, there's an expectation that your buyers will expect to see this. Without seeing this, you currently now look behind and you're starting to look like, well, you're starting to look like a dinosaur. So let's have a think about the way that marketing has worked in the past and the way that it currently works today in a digital world. Traditional marketing is based on waste. What we do is that we create very bland documents to try and to appeal to as many people as we can, and we put it out there and we hope that people will find it, and ultimately we take them through the funnel. What we're doing today with digital is that we're actually creating micro-influencers. So not Kim Kardashian, but each of your salespeople, each of your team members becomes a micro-influencer. They connect to people and they grow their network. And what happens is that their network and their network's network then takes their influence and shares that out across the internet. And so what we're seeing is that your influence is able to be shared right out through, not your, as I say, your network, but your network's network. So let's talk about a network. So a network is not a bunch of contacts. Currently, most people on LinkedIn, their network is ex-colleagues and recruitment consultants, which isn't much use if you're trying to sell to organizations. Most people on LinkedIn have the average number of contacts on LinkedIn is 930. So that gives you a benchmark about where you are in terms of average, below or above. From an account-based marketing perspective, the way that we sell into organizations is we have to be connected to them. So this is my sales guy, Eric Doyle. He isn't connected to anybody in NCR. So the likelihood of him actually selling into NCR is 0. Whereas with Wood Group, he's actually now connected to 552 people. So his ability to sell and influence Wood Group gets bigger and bigger as he connects to more people. And this is what your sales team and your teams need to be doing, is connecting to people within the organizations that you want to sell to. If you're not, you're unlikely to actually influence them. So how many people should you connect to? Because most people will say, yes, I'm connected to 2 people in NCR. Well, BMW is a client of ours. They have 100,000 employees. So how many people should you be connected to? I mean, you could argue that you need to be connected to 100 or even 1,000 people, or even 10,000 people within that account. If you're going to be running an account-based marketing process for success, you need to be connected to as many people as you can. Currently, LinkedIn is restricting you to connecting to 100 people a week. So you need to be using that 100 people, that 100 connections a week. So the ABC now of sales is always be connecting. So let's look at marketing. There's 2 very, very common posts here. Sydney doesn't have much of a network, whereas Leanne does. Sydney doesn't have much engagement, but Leanne does. Leanne has 168 likes and 89 comments. Now, a lot of people say likes and comments, it's just vanity. Leanne has 168 opportunities to have a conversation with people and 89 opportunities as well. What we try and do in sales is find some commonality. We went to the same school, we support the same team. My mother lives in the same town as us. Because when we find that commonality, we start liking and trusting each other. What all of that engagement does is gold, is it gives you commonality. It gives you a reason to have a conversation, and it's conversations that generate sales. So all of these bits of content here, then none of them are from my contacts. These are all from people that are second connections from me. So whenever anybody likes content, what happens is you're able to move your influence not just through your network, but your network's network. Just think about how powerful that is if you have empowered your sales force and your marketing team to be sharing content that is interesting and engaging, insightful, that is then actually reaching out through networks online. So let's talk a little bit about content, because I think it's important to talk about that, because one of the things that we find is that people say content is about corporate content. Unfortunately, it's not. Research shows that people are online to be social. They've come to a social network to be social. They don't come to a social network to read brochures and white papers. And even though people say that LinkedIn is a professional network, research shows that people here are to be social, not to read brochures. So what we've done is that we've created this hierarchy of content. And what you'll find is that as you move up this pyramid of content, you will find that the engagement increases. The more engagement increases, the more ability you are able to have conversations. Conversations create sales. If you go onto online, and you can do this yourself, if you look at adverts, you'll find that not very many people have liked them. Therefore, we can assume that very few people like them. And as you go through, you see a number of people putting out corporate posts, and you'll see very little engagement. Or what you'll see on the engagement, and you can do this yourself, is it's all within that company. They're talking within their echo chamber. And as most of those people won't have actually been helped in terms of growing their network will just be their ex-colleagues and recruitment consultants. Therefore, the whole thing is probably costing you money. It's probably gaining you very little. So as you move up, what you'll find is that you'll get more value, more engagement, more conversations. So let's look at this. I'll go back to using Eric as an example. He's reshared this from Pipe Tech. Eric works in the oil and gas sector for me in Scotland. Pipe Tech are obviously very proud about how they can clean their pipes. Personally, I'm not interested. I don't work in that sector. And we know that the two people that like that article, that brochure, is the sales leader and the marketing person who wrote it. It gets little engagement. It doesn't go up very far on the content pyramid. If you're authoring things yourself, don't forget your network loves you. If you're creating content yourself, you're authoring it, and you're asking questions, that's going to get you engagement. So here, Eric's going up through the pyramid. He's got 37 likes, 61 comments. Again, reasons to talk to people. And here is an example of something that Eric put out about 12 months ago. This is with his son, Austin. Austin, at the time, was 16. He had a COVID birthday. He wanted to be out with his mates, didn't want to be with his boring dad, but they went to the beach, and Eric took these photos. You can see that it's got 165 likes, 37 comments, and 18,292 views. Now, we've all seen things like this on social media, and you'll say, yeah, I scroll through social media and I kind of see this stuff. And yes, it's really interesting and I can empathize with this, and that's great. But what people aren't doing is that they're not actually using this and have a methodology behind it to actually enable them to get business. So let me give you an example. Off the back of this, Eric got 124 leads, 6 C-level meetings, 2 proposals, and 1 purchase order. And this only took him 10 minutes to create. Now, there's not one demand generation framework that you can use out there that will generate you that number of leads and meetings in 10 minutes. Cold calling, email, advertising, none of that will be able to generate business this quickly. And this is about you using social media strategically and having a structured methodology behind it to allow you to actually harvest the details. Now, some people may say, well, LinkedIn isn't Facebook, and I totally get that. But if you ask anybody and say, so how do you get you close to your clients? They say, well, we take them to the sport. We take them out to dinner. And why do you do that? Well, once I get to know them better, then they're more likely to buy from me. This is exactly the same as that. What we're doing is that we're using psychology as a way to reach out and connect to people. Now, I'm not saying that you put up lots and lots of posts of you out on the beach, because it will look like you only spend time on the beach. You need to have a LinkedIn profile that is very broad, that when someone comes to it, they should be able to see what you stand for. But these are ways that you can actually use social as a way to prospect and really knock it out the park. So just very, very quickly, we have a social selling program that we can help you with. We have a strategy day that we can help you with. You're not here to hear about that. But you got to remember that it's not what you know, because I've just told you a whole bunch of things, but I know what will happen after you've finished this presentation is you won't do any of it. You've been on LinkedIn for 10 years and you still haven't sorted out your LinkedIn profile. So it's not what you know, it's what you do. And that's so critical for using social media strategically today. So that's me. You can get my book. It's on Amazon, Social Selling Techniques to Influence Buyers and Changemakers. Please come and say hello to me on LinkedIn, or come and see me on Twitter. And I'm going to finish with a joke. So there's two explorers hacking their way through the jungle, and they come to a clearing, and there in the clearing is a tiger. The first one starts backing out. The second one takes off their rucksack and gets out a pair of running shoes and puts them on. The first one says, "You can't outrun a tiger." And the second one says, "I don't have to. I just have to outrun you." And this is a great metaphor for social media. This is not about you being Kim Kardashian and having millions of followers. This is about you being a little bit better than the competition. And I can assure you that 95% of people on social media, probably about 99% of people on social media, are shit. You can actually do far better and be far better at it, and you don't have to do a lot of work to actually do it. So thank you very much for today. I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and thank you very much. And if you need anything, please pop by my LinkedIn profile.